The UK has a pension problem, and this is not a small problem. This is a huge problem, probably the biggest financial problem that the British economy is facing right now. And this problem is so huge that it will most likely take down the rest of the British economy. So it doesn't matter who will be the next Prime Minister of the UK. It doesn't matter whether the current Prime Minister is going to step down. This problem is so huge that probably the only solution is to completely wipe out the British economy, and it's a pension problem. A pension is when people who spend their entire life working and now finally they are retiring and receiving pensions. But if you're in your 30s and 40s, you probably should forget, because by the time you're going to retire, the entire system is going to collapse. So let me explain why. The British pension is by far the largest welfare program the country has, and it's a very simple system. The current youth people who are working and paying taxes will take care of the retired people, so that when these people are going to retire, the next generation, the next youth people are also going to take care of the current working people. So in theory, this seems a very good strategy, because that way we can make sure that every person who spent his entire life working and paying taxes will be taken care of. He will have enough money, he will be receiving enough pensions from the government to go with his day-to-day expenses. But there is just one simple problem. In this ideal scenario, the number of working people should always be much higher than the number of retired people. When they designed this system, they did not take into account that as people are going to get wealthier, they will start having a lot less kids. And when you have less kids, the lower number of working people will enter the workforce, which means that the number of working people will be a lot less than the number of retired people, and this entire system is going to collapse. So let's look at the number of working people versus the number of retired people. Back in 2007, for every single retired person, there was about 4.5%. That number since then has gone down to about 3.3%. And that number is expected to continue plummeting to as low as 2. That means that there's going to be more burden on every single working person, because fundamentally, the number of working people will be far fewer than the number of retired people. And what makes the entire situation much worse in the UK is that the UK has something that we call a triple lock system. And the system essentially says that because there is something called inflation, because money devalues every single year, and the government perfectly understands that, so the job of the government isn't to simply take your money and pay you when you retire, but rather take the current money, invest it so that that money is going to generate some income, and then pay you more money. So ideally, here's the question: by how much are we going to increase your pension every single year? So the baseline is 2.5%. But what if inflation rises far more than 2.5%? So based on the consumer price index, or aka inflation, we are going to increase your pension. So if inflation rises by 5%, then you can expect your pension to rise by 5%. But how about the wages? What if wages are rising much faster than inflation? So then, in that case, out of these three numbers, we are going to take the highest number, and that's the number that we're going to use in order to increase your pension. So if you're receiving pension in the UK, you have to be confident that the government is about to take care of you. It doesn't matter whether prices are going to rise, wages are going to rise, your pension is going to rise as fast as wages or as fast as inflation. And even if wages are not going to rise, even if inflation is not going to rise, you can be confident that your pension will rise by at least 2.5%. And now let's look at inflation in the UK. Yes, there has been some periods where inflation was less than 2%, but now, and especially over the last couple of years, inflation has been far more than 2%. And now let's take a look at wages. Wages are either increasing as fast as inflation, or sometimes, for example, like in 2024, wages have increased far more than inflation. And that means that if you're receiving pensions in the UK, certainly you will enjoy those high increases in the pensions. And of course, there are some projections that inflation alongside wages are going to stabilize in 2027. But let's be honest, these projections are too optimistic, because if there is something that we know about the world, that so many things could happen. Now we have a war that is happening in the Middle East, which is increasing oil prices all across the globe. So inflation is going to be much higher in the UK this year than it was last year. And God knows when this conflict is going to be over, which means that wages are going to rise far more. Inflation is going to rise far more, which means that if you're receiving your pensions are drastically going to increase this year. Now, here's the problem. Because government guarantees payouts, but the income isn't actually guaranteed, that pushes the country into more debt. So imagine if you're the British government. By law, you're required to increase the pensions by this much every single year. But your economy isn't growing. The number of working people are declining. Where are you going to get the money to pay the pensions? Suddenly you will find yourself that you have to borrow money. And that's why if you just look at the debt to GDP ratio in the UK, you will realize that the debt to GDP ratio has catapulted to over 100%. Now, the British government has borrowed so much money. Let me ask you a very simple question. What exactly has happened over the last 25 years that the Britain had to borrow so much money? Was there another world war that the UK has to fight? No, nothing like that has happened. The last 25 years has been some of the most peaceful period in human history. And yet, even in this peaceful period, the UK had to borrow so much money to ensure that the economy is not going to collapse. Now, some people will point out the argument that, look at the US. The US also has so much debt. But the United States can do that because the US has the global reserve currency. Yes, the British currency is also one of the reserve currencies, but it's like 3 or 4% of the global reserve currencies. It doesn't even compare to the United States. So if you're not economically as powerful as the US, why are you borrowing as much money as the United States is doing? So the UK is now in a lot of debts, but that debt will keep accelerating because you have to pay more pensions. Now, here's a problem, is that, or this is probably another major problem in the UK, is that if you look at the US pension system, it works pretty much in the exact same way that you have a lot of working people who are entering the workforce, they're paying taxes, the payroll taxes are going to go into the pensions are investing in the British or the US economy in this case, and the pension funds are actually making a lot of money. Now, a good portion of those investments goes directly into the US treasuries, so these are the safest investments. You can expect the US government to actually pay you really good yields, especially right now. But on the other side, the US pensions are massively investing in the S&P 500, in the big tech companies. And if you look at the US stock market, you see some of these stocks are growing so fast. So these pensions are actually making a lot of money. Now, a second way that makes this system so great is that those payroll taxes, all those pensions paid by the taxpayers are directly going back to the US economy, which are increasing and growing the US GDP, which is making literally the US economy a much larger economy, which means that people are making more money, which means that more taxes are getting into the government's budget. Now, let's take this system and compare it to what's happening in the UK. Now, in the UK, you have pretty much the exact same system, but what makes this system much worse is that 70% of all pensions are actually invested in fixed gilts. And what is a gilt? A gilt is basically a US Treasury kind of a bond that is issued by the British government. So essentially, all those taxes that's supposed to go into pensions are invested in the British bonds. And British bonds aren't actually a really great investment. Think about it this way. You are loaning that money to the British government. The British government is paying you interest, and that interest is actually being paid to the pensions or the people who are receiving the pensions or the retirees in this case. The actual economy isn't growing because that money isn't being invested in the economy. That money is simply being loaned from one person into another. If you would have taken that money and invested that money in the UK economy, the economy would have grown. If that money was taken and invested, for example, in building roads, airports, businesses, companies, these companies would grow in the UK, growing the UK GDP. But those trillions of dollars in the UK pensions aren't being invested in the British economy. And here's a very simple question. Why wouldn't Britain do that? Why wouldn't the UK invest in the British economy? And the answer is very, very simple. What if these companies are going to fail? The British economy is in such a position that it's not growing. So even pension funds in the UK do not trust the UK economy. They don't trust the UK companies. They don't trust that if they actually make an investment in one of these companies, and these companies are going to fail. And the question comes back, what are you going to say to the people who pay their pensions? What are you going to say to the retirees that's supposed to receive their pensions? Now, suddenly the entire pension system is going to be in a collapse. Now, if you look at the British version of the S&P 500, which is FTSE 100, you don't see even a tech sector there. A quarter of the entire FTSE 100 are financials. Then you have consumer staples, and then you have energy. And look at the technology companies, it is literally about 5%. So you can see from this fact is that there aren't many technological companies in the UK. The British economy isn't actually taking advantage out of technology. But guess what? If you look at the US economy, you don't just see tech companies. Now you see AI companies because the AI revolution is happening in the US. So if there aren't many technological companies in the UK, you can literally forget about AI. AI is not happening. So if you are investing, for example, in the British economy, and you have trillions of dollars that you're receiving from pensions, will you invest it in the UK where you have these traditional businesses and you don't have high growth stocks like Apple, Amazon, Nvidia like you have in the US? Well, of course not. So the risks are much higher, which is why even the pension funds in the UK are completely avoiding the stock market. Well, why not just invest the S&P 500? Now, you can invest in the S&P 500. I can invest in the S&P 500. But when something like that is done by, for example, let's say a huge pension fund in the UK, this pension fund has consistently to pay to retirees their pensions. But there is a risk of exchange rate. So if the exchange rate goes negative for the pension, suddenly you are making a loss, and you cannot possibly afford the loss because you have to pay pensions. That's why even though that a portion of that investment still goes to the S&P 500, it cannot be the biggest portion because it still exposes them to a huge risk. But another reason is that if you're taking money from the British taxpayers, you better invest that money in the UK. You're basically taking money from the British taxpayers and investing in the United States, growing the US economy, growing US companies, and not growing the British companies. This is probably one of the major reasons why the British economy is not actually growing. Now, if you basically zoom out and you look at the core problem, you see that it is basically a population decline. And because there are fewer people in the UK, the growth is slowing down. If you take an average person, the average person is born and then he is a kid and then he becomes an adult and then he becomes a teenager, he starts working, he gets old, and then that's pretty much over, right? And there is an age where you are going to retire. So not everybody is going to work. Not everybody is going to pay taxes. The children cannot do that and the elderly people cannot possibly do that. But if you have an entire generation that did not actually have kids, suddenly the entire system is going to collapse. And the British government actually knew about this problem. And this was by far probably the biggest reason why Britain let so many immigrants to come to the UK. Not because the UK is so tolerant and the UK wanted all these immigrants to come. No, it was out of a necessity. If this was not a necessity, you would not see so many immigrants. And now you see so much backlash against immigrants because people are like throwing these theories about the replacement theory, that they want to replace the white people in the UK, which is actually not true. Of course, if you look at it from that perspective and from that lens, you can actually make a really good argument for that. But if you look at it purely from the financial perspective, that the government have actually taken a lot of really bad decisions and the pension system is on the brink of collapse. And if you are a politician in the UK and you don't want to take a decision to cancel British people's pensions, then probably you will let a lot of young immigrants to come into your country, start working, start paying taxes. Now, some people will throw the argument that they don't come and work. Well, of course, at first, a lot of people, when they come, they don't have probably a place to stay, and it takes them some time. But over time, people start working, they start paying taxes. What are the kind of people that come? Now, again, this is not an argument for immigrants. I'm simply telling you that this was the main reason why they wanted to bring so many immigrants to fix the fundamental problem. Now, if you're no longer bringing immigrants to the UK, here's the question. How are you going to solve the problem? where are you going to get so many working people to come to the UK and pay taxes? Because people, for some reason, are not actually giving birth. They are not creating families. So if you look, for example, at the GDP growth in the UK, you see that the average GDP growth is about 1.8%. And even though there was a period where inflation was lower than the real GDP growth, you can see that, especially lately, that inflation is far higher than the GDP growth. And based on the British pension system, what exactly do? You have to increase the pensions every single year as long as inflation is rising, wages are growing. So if inflation is rising by 5% and the GDP is growing by 1%, you still have to increase these pensions by 5%. But now there is less money coming in because you have fewer working people paying taxes. And suddenly you basically see one path. A path where you borrow money to close this loop. And if you start printing money in order to fix the debt to GDP ratio problem, what happens in that case? Every single time you're printing money, you're causing more inflation. And if you're causing more inflation, you have to borrow more money to pay more pensions. So essentially, it's a never-ending cycle until it drives the country into a bankruptcy. And that's why the British economy is unfixable. And the biggest problem it has today is a pension system that it no longer knows how to fix. But sooner or later, the problem is going to get so big that they have to do something about it. And one of the solutions could be that they will raise the retirement age, or they will cut the pensions, or whatever the solution is going to be. And that's why every single person has to take care of himself. If you are still young, if you're still working, it's time for you to start investing and building an investing portfolio that can replace your entire income. And if you want a step-by-step guide, if you want to know what are the stocks you have to buy, if you want to know what are the best investments that you can possibly make, you can jump on one-on-one call with my team that will help you to find out what are the best investments for you and how to build an investing strategy that will get you to financial freedom. And if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get that call completely for free.